Do you ever get that feeling like something's watching you? You're not really sure what it is, but you got that feeling, you know?
Yeah, there's nothing.
I got my eye on you.
I think it said 60 seconds. Also, it's Autism Awareness Month. I don't know if you know that. I made a video, linked. You should check it out. What do you think? Should we check it? I don't know if I want to risk it. A little bit longer. All right, day 2, Boulder, Colorado, with BehaviorME. Gotta get those transitions, man. Alright, so we're heading back down to Boomtown Accelerators. It's where the day begins. Lots of meetings scheduled for today. Here we go. Alright. Today is jam-packed with meetings. Nothing exciting at the beginning of the day. So, here's a quick rapid fire of everything. Ready, set, go. 9:30 feedback session. 10 o'clock phone call. Oh, I'm good.
10:30 onboarding.
Onboarding session. Here we go. Fit right into Boulder. That vest lifestyle. Bio break. You're not allowed in here. All right. 11 o'clock, 2-hour meeting, remote. So phone and lots of notes in planning. Another quick phone call. This one's with Teresa McKeon, really big in the tag world. I'm gonna link Tag Teach below. Catch you soon. Now apparently there's free ice cream today, so we have to break to go check that out. I don't think this counts as like an official meeting. Nonetheless, extremely important.
Sorry.
Hi.
Free cone day.
Don't you want a lick of this? You can't have one.
I found it. All right, now that ice cream's done, one last phone call to talk about next gen. If you had told me that I would get into this field, my first conference would be in Denver, in Colorado, 2011, and then I would end up back here, Colorado, Boulder, Denver, right? Working on something as cool as virtual reality and behavior analysis, just for a few days, hanging with the team and like doing what I can to help them out, I'd say you're out of your mind. Like, straight up. One of the most exciting parts of today was we went down into Denver here to, specifically in a district called Reno. Pretty cool, right? It was with a place called the General Assembly. I'm going to link them down here for you to check out. Essentially, they selected to work with this BehaviorME team on some of their UX and UI mock-ups, user experience, user interface. This is something that behavior analysts really share in common with the tech world, and how to try to design and create subtle forms of stimulus control to help influence certain actions of behavior or certain patterns over time, specifically in the tech industry. And so I'm here now with Annie Escalante,
Yes, sir.
behavior analyst on the team with BehaviorME. Tell me, how did you all end up in that meeting in the first place?
Sure. So we met with the folks from General Assembly actually on our second day here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right out the gate.
Right off the gate.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And the whole point of that meeting was basically just to figure out what sort of like user experience we wanted our users to eventually have when
Okay.
they use BehaviorME products.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And so from there, what did you do that day? There was some sort of prototyping, right?
Yes. So basic prototyping. So we
Okay.
literally used paper, pens,
Okay.
and we drew out what that experience would look like.
Okay.
And so yesterday what we did was wireframing, which was basically the next step beyond that,
Yeah.
where we actually had that same sort of system but on a computer.
And so the wireframing essentially is like kind of a rudimentary like website, I guess, is
Yes,
how you kind of describe it,
perfect.
right? Some buttons work, but they only work so much, right?
Exactly.
You have to kind of program those in. So it's kind of like linking these different sheets together in a way to where you can kind of look at it visually, right, and see what the functionality would be.
Yes.
There's a lot of feedback they were looking for, right?
Yes.
So there was a role playing activity.
Which was a lot of fun. Did you have fun doing it?
Yes, and we actually, so we role played separately. So I don't even know what you guys really role played.
We role played a kiddo crossing the street.
Okay.
Yeah.
We role played a typical session behavior analysis because we realized that I wasn't sure if John had seen that aspect.
Oh,
so we
right on,
actually didn't
cool.
even get into your guys' simulation.
Yeah.
So what's the point of the role playing? Like, what's that function for the UX folks?
So they want to see basically what we're doing on a daily
Yeah.
basis. So what is that sort of experience for a behavior analyst, and how are we going to try to transcribe that
Yeah.
onto a virtual reality simulation?
Okay, perfect. So this brings up translating the science. So I feel like, I don't know about you specifically, I don't want to speak for you, right? My experience was like, we need to tell these people in a very like plain English way, like here's what we have to offer, right? On like the important parts. And
Right.
here's how to maintain the science. What were your thoughts on that? Did it
That was
work?
amazing. I think that was
Yeah.
really effective to tell the folks who are programming this potential prototype that we would be using what our science is, and you did a great job disseminating that information.
You
to
did
them.
as well. Yeah, it was a team
High five.
effort. Yes. Yeah. So imagine, what was it, 2 hours almost?
It was about 2 hours,
Yeah, 2 hours of trying to use plain English to talk about what it is that is important when it comes to our measures and the events that we're interested in looking at and the data that people potentially be interested in looking at as well. Cool. So there's a bit of dissemination that's in there. We're going to actually talk about that in another video later this week as to like actually what it's like trying to disseminate in an environment like this accelerator or the people we've been meeting with. That said, there's some steps. So I first ran into UX and UI in 2013 when I met a behavior analyst's wife, actually,
Oh, cool.
who was working at a pretty big firm in Orlando, and she described a few different steps here. Largely, they were the first step's doing a lot of your research. They went in and they did research as to like what our field has to offer and how these
Right.
sort of things go. Right. From there, they developed these sort of personas, and the idea is they're trying to characterize who the typical behavior analyst is, right, or the typical person that's receiving services.
Perfect.
So they have an idea what's going on. From there, they jump into certain scenarios, which is what they kind of presented to us, or you guys have also presented when it comes to your technology and what's being built, right?
Right.
So yesterday was also step 4 was also about the user journey, right? And like what that's like. And that's what they were wireframing?
Right, so
correct?
the whole experience of using a product like BehaviorME's product.
Yeah, perfect. And then from there, there's a lot of focusing on getting that feedback and like really solidifying what the features and the scope of the tool are, right? Like this is what it's going to accomplish, and that's it. Really similar to how our field kind of says, here's our goals, objectives, and this is what we're going to
Right on.
conquer, right? So from there, what they do is they start to lay out the sitemap, the wireframes, and they get an actual prototype, which the prototype should be the next thing in this step for everyone,
Yes.
for you guys, right? Okay. And then from there, I really like this part. I see some parallels with our field. If it's just test, iterate, design, test, iterate, design, test. And
A
it's
lot
like
of probing.
it's forever,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Until it's working perfectly or it's no longer around, right?
And the point is, it's like like how our behavior plans are living documents. These sort of products are also living documents too. They're
Yeah.
always being changed and altered, and it's all based on the iterations from the feedback
Yeah.
you get from your users.
Is there any other things that kind of have parallels with behavior analysis that you've noticed?
I think the point of creating something that's easy to use, something that's parsimonious, and that's not too difficult or complicated, and it gets to the point, gets to the goal of what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. So cool. I think that's it. Yeah. The goal is just create something that works, right?
Yeah, and it's
parsimonious.
easy.
It's pragmatic.
Yeah.
It's very similar to our field.
It's very behavioral.
Yeah, they're looking at the most subtle forms of stimulus control, and they're pretty good at it. So I would suggest trying to read into it a bit. I'm going to add some links down below or above, wherever that's at, that I've been shared in the past. I'm sure there's a bunch more out there, as well as was it General Assembly?
Yes.
Yeah, link to their site. It looks super cool. I only dug a little bit, but it looks so exciting.
The building
Yeah.
was amazing. So
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Dig. Bam. That was so cool, you guys. You guys, out of like, it's like quick praise, but also vlog time, okay? This is like top 5 behavior analysis days ever spent. Today. Yeah. This is the sort of that should be being done in our field. You work really, really, really hard to automate the behavior analysis process. That way the world can actually experience everything that it is that we have to offer, rather than putting all the pressure on the behavior analysts to try to get out there and do it all themselves. It's awesome. This is it. So in today's episode, we're leaving Boulder on a little bit of an adventure. I think so. Hey, I call back seat with my legs on the hump. And that's your daily BA.